Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Loyani, and in the previous video, we did the setup of Angular material and created the application header. At this point, we have a basic application shell, so now we can start building the main feature of the page, which is the products list. In this video, we'll focus entirely on the UI structure and components. So by the end of this video, you'll have a products grid rendered on the page, a reusable product card component, Angular material cards and layout in place, a clean component structure ready for state and signals, and we won't be adding any business logic or data just yet. Our focus here is purely on structure. Before we start coding, let's quickly revisit the component structure we planned earlier. We'll create two components, a products grid, which is responsible for the grid layout, and a product card component, responsible for displaying a single product. Now, you could put everything in a single component, the grid layout and the products detail all in one place. It works, but as the application grows, the component would quickly become harder to read, test, and maintain. Instead, we're going to follow the principle of separation of concerns. Each component should have a single responsibility and remain as small and focused as possible. The grid component handles layout, the card component handles presentation. This makes our code easier to understand, reuse, and change independently. So let's start by creating the products grid component. We're going to go back to the terminal, and G for the Angular CLI, generate or G, component or C, products/products-grid. So this component will live inside a products folder. Grouping related components together keeps our project organized as it grows and handle only the layout and handling of the products list. So organizing the components by feature, like products, is a widely recommended practice in Angular. It keeps related files close together, making the code base easier to navigate and maintain. If you worked with older Angular versions, you might remember the ng modules, where we group components, directives, pipes into modules like a products module. With the standalone components, which is default since Angular version 17, ng modules are no longer required. However, the idea of feature-based organization still applies. We just do it through the folder structure instead of module files. This approach gives us the best of both worlds, clean organization without the boilerplate of ng modules. And once the component is generated, we'll add it to the app.html. So I'm going to copy the selector. I'm going to open the app.html, and in app.html, we can add the content, and we can simply close the tag. If you want to, we can also style a little bit, adding a main with a class page, for example, and just add this component inside this tag main, so it's a little bit more organized. We also need to import the products grid component in the app.ts because we're getting a compilation error. So going back to the imports, we can products grid. And the styles for the page layout, we're just going to add to the CSS file. So here's what each property is doing. The padding adds a breathing room around the content so it doesn't touch the edges. The max width for the 1200 pixels prevents the content from stretching too wide on large screens, improving readability. And the margin 0 auto centers the content horizontally when the viewport is wider than 1200 pixels. Let's check it out what we have for now. So I'm just quickly run npm run start, and we're going to open this in the browser. So for now, we simply have the product grid works, and we have some style applied to it as well. Now let's create a product card component. Since it's related to products, we'll place it in the same products folder. So I'll quickly create another terminal session, and we're going to use the ng-gc to generate component products/product-card. This component will display a single product's information, and it's going to be reusable. We'll render one card per product in the grid, and we're going to accept product data as input. We're going to cover this in a future video. For now, let's just focus on building the visual structure with a placeholder content. Let's build the product card using the Angular material. So I'm going to open the productcard.ts. Let me just close a few of these other files. First, we need to import a few components that we're going to be using in our HTML. The first one is going to be the card module. So it's the mat card module. And remember, if you don't know the name of the modules, you can come back to material.angular.dev, to components, card. You can also check out the examples and its source code too. And whenever we need to import something, you can go back to the API, copy, and add to your component. And the other component that we will use is the button. So mat button module. Now let's open the HTML so we can work on the template. If we go back to the examples and check the code, we can see the directive or the name of the component that we're going to be using, which is mat-card. So we can come back here and just do a Command A or Control A and start typing the mat card. Let's not forget to close it. We're also going to add some style to this. So I'm going to add a class called product card. Inside the card, we can have a few different sections as well. So we're going to start with the header. So mat card-header. And inside the header, we're going to have a title and subtitle. So mat card title and a subtitle. Inside the title, we're going to add a placeholder for now, which is the product name. And the subtitle is going to be the category. I always like to just skip a line just to keep my component a little bit more organized. And next, we're going to add a content. So mat card content. And the content is basically going to hold the product description. So I'm just going to add a paragraph and say product description goes here. And at the bottom of the card, we're going to add a button. So for that, and also for the style to look a little bit better, we're going to add some mat card actions. And inside the actions, we're going to add a button. And to the button, we're going to style as the Angular material button. So we're going to use the mat button directive. And here, we're going to name this button Add to Cart. Let's not forget to add the CSS for the product card. So inside the CSS file, we're just going to add two styles. One is the product card, and the other one, we're going to directly style the mat card component. Here's what the styles are doing. The height 100% makes each card fill the full height of its grid cell, so all the cards in a row have the same height. The display flex and the flex direction column arranges the card content vertically, the header, the content, and the actions. And the flex one inside the mat card content makes the content area expand to fill the available space, pushing the Add to Cart button to the bottom of every card. This ensures that the cards look consistent even when the product descriptions vary in length, and this gives us a clear, readable structure without overcomplicating the UI as well. One thing to notice when we're styling Angular material components is that we can directly style the name of the directive as well, or the name of the component. In this case, the mat card component, we don't need to add a dot on the front. So now let's go back to the products grid component and render multiple cards. To help me with that, I'm gonna copy the app product card selector. We're gonna go back to the products grid. First, we're gonna import the product card, like so. And by importing the product card, we can now use the app product card tag in our template. So products grid, select everything, delete it. I'm gonna add a div, and inside this div, I'm gonna add a class called grid, and we're gonna style this in a moment. And for now, we'll use a simple markup and CSS to simulate the grid layout in this component. And I'm also gonna repeat this product 6 times. Let's open the CSS and add the grid style. The display grid enables the CSS grid layout. The grid template columns with the repeat automatically creates as many columns as it will fit, with each column being at least 208 pixels wide, but also able to grow equally with one fraction unit to fill the available space. And the gap just adds consistent spacing between the cards, both rows and columns. The beauty of the autofill with the min-max CSS function is that the grid automatically adjusts the number of columns based on the width of the screen. We don't need to use media queries in this case. This is a responsive layout by default and easy to adjust later in case if we have to. Let's see how everything is looking in the browser. And if you go to Developer Tools, More Tools, Developer Tools, I like to see mine on the bottom. So in case you decide to toggle the device toolbar, you can play around and you can see that this is fully responsive. At this stage, you might feel tempted to jump ahead and add the data, the services, or signals. We are intentionally holding off on that for now, and here's the reason. By building the UI first with placeholder content, we get a few big advantages. We're focusing on structure, so we can define clear component boundaries before thinking about the data flow. At least for me, it's much easier to tweak the layout and styling when we're not debugging the logic at the same time. And we're also validating the design. We can confirm if the UI looks and feels right before connecting the real data. This approach is sometimes called outside-in development. We start with what the user sees, then we work our way inward to the logic. It helps to ensure that the UI drives the data structure, not the other way around. In practice, this means that we validate the screen structure first, the layout, the spacing, hierarchy, and the component boundaries. Once that foundation is clear, adding state and data becomes much simpler because each component already has a well-defined role. It also reduces cognitive load while learning. Instead of designing the UI and debugging the data flow at the same time, we handle one concern at a time. As the next step, we will introduce signals to this component and we'll plug data into the structure that is already stable. So, in this video, we created a products grid component that handles the grid layout, like this. We also created a products card component for displaying individual products. We're using Angular material cards with a clean structure template and a fully responsible CSS grid layout with no media queries required. So we're keeping this simple. In the next video, we'll keep things a little bit more dynamic by introducing the for loop. This will transform our static placeholder UI into a dynamic data-driven interface. If you're enjoying this video or if you have any feedback, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.